Hey, fellow GH fans, welcome back to the Port Charles podcast. Eric here, and on today's episode, we are going to recap the week that just happened, the week of March 31st. We also have some news about some comings and goings. You'll want to stick around for that. And of course, we are going to touch on the very, very emotional episode, the Epiphany Tribute Show. So all that and more, so let's get right into it. So starting off the week, we have Esme attempting to run away. Cameron stops her. They kind of have this talk, and they kind of come to an understanding, so to speak. And Cameron ends up taking Esme to his going away party at Charlie's, which shocks everybody. And I kind of feel like there's this redemption story for Esme in the works, kind of along the lines of Franco. And I think Cameron kind of sees that a little bit. He sees that opportunity, and the two characters could kind of align in a way with the way they were the town pariah. Nobody trusted them. They thought they were this horrible, evil person. And then they somehow stuck around, managed to turn it around, managed to get people on their side. Not everybody in town is going to like them, but I think the same could be done for Esme here. And I'm not sure right now which way they're going with it. I think at some point still, she is going to regain her memory. And she's not going to let anybody know about it. She's going to keep that to herself because, as we found out later in the week, Ava really had kind of a chilling message for Esme at General Hospital. She told her, at some point, your memory will come back. And when it does, I'll know about it. And when that happens, basically, I will get revenge for what you did to me. So I think Esme, knowing that, when her memories do come back, she is not going to tell anybody. Now, Eileen gets busted finally by Victor, and she just immediately starts blabbing and telling everything. Anna and Valentin are alive. Lucy Coe's alive. The whole thing's just a total work. And true to form, Victor throws her over the bridge anyway. And at that moment, when I'm watching her just completely spill the beans, I'm sitting there just basically yelling at my screen, he's going to kill you anyway, right? Like, there's no end game. He's not going to let you go. You betrayed him. You didn't come to him with this information from the get-go. You've been playing along and playing both sides of the fence here. So, of course, what happens? She takes a header over the bridge. Dex and Sonny find her floating in the harbor. And I'm not sure why Sonny felt the need to send Dex away. It would have made more sense, at least for their story, if they would have said, hey, we were just here hanging out talking, and Dex noticed the body in the harbor, and he jumped in and got her out, and we call the police. So for Sonny to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm just here hanging out by myself, and then a body just floats up, just right here to the edge, and none of my clothes are wet, and I'm not wet in any way, but I somehow managed to get her out of the water, it just seems suspicious. I don't understand why they couldn't have just said, hey, we're just here hanging out, having a conversation, minding our business, and we see the body, and Dex goes and rescues it. So, I don't know, kind of a hole in the plot there that I just really didn't understand. If you have a better understanding of this, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Why was there a need to get Dex away from the scene? I mean, everybody knows Dex is working for Sonny, so it's not like this is a secret. I don't get it. Maybe you can help me out with that one. At the end of the week, Spencer, after taking Esme to the hospital with baby Ace, he has this realization that eventually Esme is going to end up on her own 2 feet. And when that happens, that puts her one step closer to taking Ace and skipping town and never coming back. So he meets with Victor. He tells him, look, I want you to go ahead, put your plan in motion, whatever you have in mind. We need to get Esme separated from Ace. We need to put Esme back in prison. And Victor, of course, says, absolutely, leave it to me. I'll take care of it. I don't think that's Victor's ultimate plan, though. I think his ultimate plan is to get Esme out of the picture permanently, to make sure that she is never a part of Ace's or the Cassadines' lives ever again. And I think at some point, Spencer is going to not like that when he finally finds out what Victor's real plan is. I think that he's going to be like, hey, I just want her away from the baby. I don't want her dead. as much as I despise her and as much as I want to see her brought to justice, that's not the justice I'm looking for. So I'm not on board with this plan of just whacking her out and getting rid of her permanently. At that point, Victor is going to completely turn on Spencer, and we'll have to see what the fallout is from there. Now, just a quick tidbit real quick before I get on to some news and then, of course, the most important issue of this past week. One thing I noticed early on when the attempt on Sonny was taken at the warehouse and Sonny started immediately pushing everybody away, the one thing I immediately noticed was that when he told Nina, look, you have to go. We have to be apart right now. We can't be together. It's for your own good. It's for your own safety. We need to distance ourselves for the time being. Nina immediately was basically like, okay, all right, bye. I guess I'll see you later. And I immediately was like, whoa, this is way different than how Carly would have reacted. Carly would have been like, oh, hell no, you are not pushing me away. I am in this with you. If I got to take a bullet right alongside you, then so be it. That's what I'm going to do because I love you and I'm in it with you through the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. That's not Nina. And Carly called her out on it, and I'm glad to see it happen. I was happy that Carly laid some truth on Nina, and I think this is going to eventually set the stage for Sonny and Nina to end up apart. I don't think that those two were meant to be a long-term couple, much like I don't think Carly and Drew is meant to be a long-term couple. They just, for some reason, I don't feel it with these two couples. Sonny and Carly are just meant to be, and no matter how many times they're going to split up, they're going to get back together, and that's really going to make things very sticky. If that were to happen, it's going to make things very sticky if Michael is still plotting against Sonny. But I love how Carly laid the truth on Nina and said, look, you want to bury your head in the sand on this. You don't want to face the truth. You want to act like Sonny is Mike from Nixon Falls, and that ain't it. Sonny is Sonny, and he's got to do what he's got to do when it comes to his business. And if he ain't sharing everything with you and you're not in that with him, you're not going to last. And you know what? She's 100% right. And like I said, from the very beginning, I immediately was like, oh my God, okay, this isn't going to work. Because the second Sonny pushed her away, Nina went. And that is not anything Carly would have ever done. All right, folks, I want to get into a couple of comings and goings here. Actually, there's a few here. I want to start with Cameron Weber. William Lipton, the actor who plays Cameron, is leaving General Hospital. He didn't get fired. He's not leaving to go do another show or anything like that. He is legitimately enrolled. He's a sophomore at USC. He's involved in their music program there, and he has decided to just take some time off to focus on his education and put all of his focus there. And you know what? Hats off to him. We wish William nothing but the best, and we hope that he is super successful in everything that he's working towards. He did say, look, school's out for the summer. I'll come back for the summer. I'll pop in. He could work on the show for a few months, be involved in a storyline or two, or just kind of be around however the show wants to use him. So he's not gone permanently. He's just gone for right now because he needs to focus on his education, which of course is super important. He will come back. He's already said he plans on being back next summer when the school year lets out. And might there be a summer romance in Cameron's future when he comes back? And I'll say this. I'm not going to say much about it because it's still kind of speculation right now. But I will say this, it is not with Jocelyn Jacks. All right, so coming back for a short period of time will be Emma Sams, who plays Holly. We know with Anna and Valentin's plan basically being exposed, everybody, including Victor, knows that they're alive now. They're going to have to expedite what they were doing or shift gears. And I'm sure at some point they are going to go visit Holly. They're going to try to get another game plan going of what they can do, or they may be going to check on Holly because since Victor knows that Anna and Valentin and Lucy all faked their death, he might put two and two together and figure, okay, well, maybe Holly faked her death, and maybe the Ice Princess necklace is still out there. So Emma Samms will be returning. Not exactly sure as of right now when her return on air date is, but it is verified she will be back very soon. And I'm sure, like I said, it'll have something to do with the Ice Princess, the necklace, Victor, and all of that. One other big piece of news here. We now know, and it has been confirmed, that Evan Hofer, and I hope I'm saying that name right. I apologize if I'm butchering the last name. I've never heard it. I've only read it. Evan Hofer, who plays Dex Heller, is now officially under contract with General Hospital. He was originally brought on. He was supposed to just be a short-term character, but the writers, the directors, the producers, everybody has fallen in love with this guy and his abilities on screen. He's a great actor, and I think he's only going to get better as he gets more entrenched into the show and working with the different actors around him. But Evan is officially under contract with General Hospital. So now that really opens it up for any kind of backstory. And anybody who has watched this show and has seen some of my other videos, you know, as I do, my most watched videos have to do with the speculation of who Dex Heller's biological father really is. So I won't get into that. There's a couple of videos you can go see that kind of speculate on that a little bit. But good news for everybody. I know there are a lot of Dex fans out there. I've become a fan of Dex myself. I really like the guy. I like his potential and the ability that he's shown so far. And I hope nothing but great things for him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him more in the future and really seeing how this whole storyline plays out between him, Sonny, Michael, Jocelyn, and everybody else. The fallout is going to be spectacular, and I can't wait for it. But congratulations to Evan for getting his contract, and he will be a permanent player on General Hospital. All right, folks, I want to thank you all for sticking around if you made it this far. And I felt this was the only appropriate way to end this show. And of course, that was to discuss the tribute episode to Epiphany. And I'm sure, like a lot of you, it was very, very emotional. Anybody that has ever lost anyone close to them, and I'm sure that's probably mostly everybody, it's honestly, it's hard for me to find the words right now. You know, for any of you who have watched my show regularly, you know I don't really script anything out. Everything I say kind of just comes off the top of my head or comes straight from my heart as I'm saying it. And this is no different, so just bear with me here. But I sat down the other evening, the day the show aired, and I watched this with my wife, and both she and I were literally sitting there emotional over this. And like I told her, I said it's one thing when they just kill off a character, and like for instance when Britt died, you know that it's just the actress is leaving the show, she's going off to do other things, so they decide to kill off the character. That's one thing. And even then, depending on how the tribute is done for that character, it can get emotional at times. But knowing that Sonia Eddy is gone, I think it just, for me personally, it hit on a totally different level. And I'll admit, I'm feeling emotional now just even discussing it, because now I'm going back to the other day and sitting there watching this show. And, for so many television shows that you watch, and I know it's this way for me, it's different when it's a show that runs in seasons, if you know what I mean. Like, we've got 13 episodes in this season, and then when that season's done, you wait a year for the next season to come on. It's a little bit different then, because you see these characters, you get invested with these characters and these storylines and the writing and everything else, and then it's gone for a while, and you can kind of let it go and decompress and think about other things for close to a year until the show comes back. A show like General Hospital is on every day. This is a part of our daily lives. These characters that we watch and we get involved with and invested in, and yes, at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and what they're doing is, they're just acting, and we get all that. But you still, unless you're just an uncaring individual, when you come across really good characters or storylines, you get involved. Like, you invest yourself, you invest your time and your emotion into that. And to me, for somebody like Epiphany, even though she was not on a regular basis, her impact was real. Like, the difference she made when she was on that show, when she was on that television screen or the computer screen or your phone screen or however you watched it, it was real. And to me personally, just my opinion, I felt like I was not watching Sonia Eddy play Epiphany. I felt like I was watching Sonia Eddy being Sonia Eddy. Now, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't really her. Maybe she was totally different than her character. But I just feel like, especially for somebody like her who has been in show business for as long as she has, who has done as many things as she has, I'm sure she probably got a good deal of leeway when it came to her character because she wasn't on all the time. So she didn't really have to stick to or adhere to certain things when it came to her character. She was just bits and pieces here and there. And I just felt like she probably was allowed to let a lot of her personality and real characteristics play into the character. So at least that's what I'm going to go with. I feel like Sonia Eddy in real life was probably very no nonsense. She probably didn't put up with a lot of stuff from people. But I'm going to go away from this feeling like she was probably also just as giving, just as caring, and just as loving as Epiphany was. And to sit there and watch that show Wednesday, especially with all the flashbacks, the character interactions, and then, of course, the very end when Monica is reading that letter to Elizabeth, you can't help but get pulled in. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to put into words just exactly how it makes me feel. I'd love to know how it made you feel. But yeah, I mean, I'll admit I'm emotional, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to say that, yeah, I felt that way. I felt the same way watching the very end of Sons of Anarchy and what happened to Jax Teller at the very end. Because again, you get invested. You invest yourself emotionally into these shows sometimes. And this was no different. But I think General Hospital did her and her family very well, very proudly, very admirably. And for me personally, I am going to miss seeing Epiphany on my screen. And I think that many of you will as well. So, our hearts are with the Eddy family. Sonia will definitely be missed. So for me, this show and all the amazing fans out there, Sonia Eddy, Godspeed.